Hey guys, welcome to day 29. I'm getting ready to do a business trip this weekend, so I wanted to make these last two videos. But the other video was longer than I thought it was going to be. So I don't know if I'm going to release day 28 and then while I'm on my business trip, download this one. But we will see. I didn't want to end this series without talking about something really, really important. I would be a hypocrite as much as I mentioned the contributions that Black Americans, that Haitians, that Afro-Latinos have made to spiritual practices of Afro descent. And I talked about the positive things, civil rights movements, how far our people have come, because they have. We still have a long way to go. I can't pretend that there still aren't issues within the Black and brown community. And I don't know if I'm going to leave the comments on this video on or if I'm going to turn them off. It depends on the feedback that I get. Because trigger warning, this is a very raw video. I'm not gonna scream. It's not like that. It's not like a prejudice or bigoted, nothing like that. But there's an experience that only like my mom and my kids know about. That also kind of, I wanted to end the series with this video. It's not only because of my family history and slavery and oppression and stuff like that that I'm so protective of my cultural practices. It's also because I know the power of it. You know, power in the wrong hands is not always a good thing, right? But also because it's a promise that I made to a spirit. And so I am sworn to secrecy and things of that nature. And I wanted to explain why when someone approached me to feature me in a book and for me to talk about my spirits and things like that, I was unable to do that. And I had to tell them I'm sworn to secrecy and things like that. My daughter is 7 now. 6 years ago, I was married to my youngest daughter's father. I talked to you guys about my first husband and how I left because of domestic violence after many, many years of marriage. I married him when I was still a teenager and things right out of high school. I ended up going to college later on in my life. And he was a Spaniard. My youngest daughter's father was Southern. He called himself a redneck, country boy type of a person who was very proud. He actually practiced what I talked about in the previous video. He practiced folk magic. So he was a witch like me. Like we had similar magical practices and things like that. You know, he did have very distant Native American ancestry, things like that, but he's predominantly white. You can't really see the Native American ancestry. It was very, very far removed. Probably if he takes the ancestry, it'd be like 1% or something, because that's how, you know, far removed it was or whatever. But he was very, very spiritual. He was also Christian like me, and we go to church, you do spells, you know, that kind of stuff. I never talked about why I'm not with him. And it's important to this video, hear me out. So when we were dating and when I lived in the country, in the south pretty much, there was a lot of racism on all sides because we were an interracial couple. We spent more time defending our relationship than we actually had a relationship. And there were things that he could not understand. Like he would even tell me, I didn't even think racism existed until I started dating you, and I started to see how differently people would treat you at the store, following you, refusing to give you change in your hands, asking you where you're from. Your name is weird. Oh, this is a good neighborhood. Hopefully we could keep it that way. And the things that people thought they could just say in my face, and things like that, because I lived in a predominantly Caucasian neighborhood with him and things like that. He saw how my oldest daughter got bullied and people would say racial slurs, and believe me, I fixed that situation and that ended, because telling me you need to understand that people, I don't need to understand a damn thing. You need to correct these kids. Okay? So calling my daughter the N-word is unacceptable. Okay? So so those situations were corrected. But he really got to see firsthand, like, whoa, like that's a real thing. He ended up not being friends with certain people because they didn't know we were together, and they would say these racist stuff. And then he's like, he was just shocked, like how people's react, especially when we got living together, pregnant with our daughter and things like that. People were like, we like you both individually. We just don't believe that the races should mix. This race should stay with that race and this race should stay with the other. And it was very uncomfortable. But, but I'm not a racist or anything, that famous, whatever. When we were living together, he was at work. And I had just had my daughter. She was about 1 year old. So this is 6 years ago. I was a victim of a home invasion. Somebody broke into my home and sexually assaulted me in my home. It's one thing to be sexually assaulted in general, but when it's your own home, it did something to me. The individual that violated me said, I did this because you're a bed wench. He didn't like the fact that I had a child with a white man. When I dated the father of my child, I dated him. I fell in love with him. Not because he was white, nor did he fall in love with me because I was brown. I always dated within my own races. Latinos, Black Americans, Caribbean. I married yes, my ex-husband has Spaniard in him, but his culture was Puerto Rican. I married within my own culture. And he spoke Spanish, and he was born in Puerto Rico and all that kinds of stuff. He just happened to have lighter skin than me. But even if I didn't, that did not give the right to this person to violate me. You should never violate anybody. But to literally violate my space because of who I ended up falling in love with, I was so angry. I remember hearing my daughter, my youngest daughter, screaming in the background and just saying, I'm just going to let this happen so that he doesn't hurt her. Because remember, she's the product of my marriage. And sorry, I'm trying not to be emotional. I want to share this because I feel like as a healer, this is where my healing came from. This is why I can empathize with ancestral healings, with these things, because I've been through a lot of stuff. And this is like the tip of the iceberg, I let him do what he did, I'm a knife point. I did what I had to do. I'm not going to fight him off, because what if he puts that knife on my daughter? I'm just going to let him do him. I remember my husband at the time wanted to find this guy. I'm not going to say on video because I don't want to get arrested, but let's just say things were done to the individual and things of that nature. because he did find this man. And yeah, we had to pull him off. Well, his dad and the people around him had to pull him off the guy because he would be in jail for life. That's how angry he was. I couldn't be intimate with my husband. I indirectly blamed him. Oh, if I wasn't in this interracial relationship, maybe this would have never happened, which wasn't his fault. I was so angry, and I was so traumatized from it. I remember about 4 months after the attack, I was having a panic attack, and he tried to get me medical attention. His stepmom's like, let's just call an ambulance. I think that she needs to go to get evaluated because she's having a nervous breakdown. Because I kept thinking that the guy that violated me was going to come into the house, and that he was in the house, that he was looking at me and things of that nature. Because before the attack, this guy was stalking me, but I didn't pay no mind. I blocked his number, so on and so forth. Because he was like a family friend. And anyways, so I was having a panic attack, and instead of the ambulance, the police officers came. It was 2 state troopers, no ambulance. By the time they came, I'm hysterically crying because I couldn't stop crying. Her father didn't know what to do. He's like, I just don't, I don't want her to, like, I don't know, if we don't take her to the bar, if she commits suicide or something. He was just legitimately, because I wasn't violent or anything. I couldn't stop crying. Like, I was sobbing. When you cry from, like, the depths of your soul, like, I just couldn't stop crying. And I swore this guy was in the house, and I'm like, we have to get out the house. And, I wasn't being rational. Instead of taking me to the hospital, which I kept saying, like, there's something wrong with me, and he's trying to explain. They're like, we got called on a domestic disturbance, and they're like, no, he's trying to explain to them because his stepmother hasn't gotten there yet. And they start grabbing me. He's like, don't like, he's getting mad. He's like, why are you touching her like that? Why are you holding her by the arm? They're like, we're gonna arrest her for domestic whatever. You don't have to protect. Like, basically, like, I was beating him up. I never even touched this man. And he's trying to defend me. They remove him from the room. My oldest daughter comes in. By this time that they're manhandling me, I'm going into defensive mode. So I start yelling back at the officers, like, can you just listen to me? Oh, she's being aggressive. You're resisting arrest. You're resisting arrest. No, I'm not resisting arrest. I just want to go to a hospital. I'm trying to explain to them that someone broke into our house, that I've been afraid to press charges, and that this guy's still on the loose, that I'm afraid he's going to re-assault me and all these kinds of things. And they're not listening to me. My husband is not in the room anymore. And I'm trying to get away from them. And they proceed to beat me. And I'm trying to stand up because I'm like, you're not understanding. I want to go to the hospital. I'm afraid. They're punching. They're kicking. My daughter's watching this. They start saying racial slurs to me. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And like, this is why you need to go back to Africa. I'm gonna pause the video. Okay. I had to take like a deep breath. I didn't want you guys to actually see me full on cry on video. So they started beating me, and then I kept, trying to get up. And that's when I understood it. That in that part of the world, the one drop rule is like really real, right? And things like that. They don't care if you're mixed with anything else. Like, you are what you are to them, right? And when I'm trying to get up and explain, they then begin to tase me in my neck. And I start praying to the spirits. I start praying to the Congo spirits. And I said, please, get my daughter out of the room. I'm screaming, baby, get out of the room. Call your father. Tell him to call a lawyer. I said, officers, please don't. Somebody take her out of the room. I'm calling for my ex-husband. He's being restrained. He's not allowed to be in the room while they're beating me. He didn't even know I was getting beat. I said, dear Lord, don't let my baby see me get killed. Because they're choking me. They're beating me. They tase me in one side of my neck. They tase me on the other side of my neck. I kept telling them, what are you doing? What are you doing? They only stopped because my daughter, she was pushed out of the room. She breaks back into the room, the living room where I'm at, and I'm getting beat. And she's like, I have my dad, he has the lawyer on the phone, whatever. The shock of everything, to make the long story short, I ended up having a heart attack. It was 6 years ago, so I was in my 30s. I have no pre-existing heart conditions. My cholesterol was low. It was from the stress. So they had no choice because my daughter was in there. She had a witness on the phone. She had the smart idea of pretty much saying, I'm going to record what you're doing. You know what I mean? That was the only reason, and me praying to the Loas and the Orishas and the ancestors to spare my life, that those two officers did not kill me 6 years ago. And I ended up going to the hospital and getting medical treatment. I'm having a heart attack. They called the ambulance, so on and so forth. And they diagnosed me with having a nervous breakdown and having post-traumatic stress disorder because of that attack, because I got to tell the hospital what happened. The officers got scared, never pressed any charges on me. I didn't go to jail or anything like that after that. I contacted the NAACP, the Poverty Law Center, and different various civil rights groups. They all told me I had a case. I had enough evidence. The pictures alone of the bruising that I had 23 bruises from head to toe. I had 2 black eyes. I had bruises. I had burn scars in both sides of my neck from when they tased me in the neck, which I heard they're not supposed to tase you in your neck. And that could be why I got the heart attack too, because of they just kept tasing me. I never assaulted them. I was just trying to get away from them because I was having a panic attack. There was a woman earlier, like a week or two earlier, I found out after research, that literally attacked her husband with a machete and nobody ever even hit her. And she was actually put into the police car and got arrested for literally stabbing her husband and didn't even get beat up. And I simply was having a panic attack and I almost got killed. And so I'm not saying every officer or state trooper is a bad person, but ever since that experience and other experiences, not as grave as that one, that I've had with law enforcement, I grew up in the South Bronx, I legitimately have a real fear of the police. And in conjure, in these practices, one of the big things they practice a lot is like keep law away spells and things like that, because those spells were created for survival. When I separated from my husband, because our marriage couldn't survive all the things that happened, I just didn't want to deal with that. He didn't want to leave the South, and I wasn't going to live that life. This is why I moved down to Pennsylvania. I was like, I can't do it. I can't deal with, and I'm not saying the whole South is like that, because I've been to the South. I love me the South, and things like that. But the part that he lived in, he wanted to stay in that town, and I wasn't going to do it. Oh, I'll protect you. No, like once that happened, I don't want to be in your town, and anyway, that's another story for another day. But every time I see like police officers and things like that, I don't call the police when things happen. I have that trauma. Again, I'm not saying every officer is like that, but I've had real bad experiences. As a matter of fact, recently I went to Family Dollar and the cashier forgot to disable the alarm, and I beeped going out, which happens to people all the time. Usually they're like, oh, excuse me, miss, can I look in your bag or something? No, when I left the store, they grabbed me, pulled me back in. I was like, what are you doing? And if it wasn't for the bystanders that were there, they were like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, we're going to record you, because they literally empty out my bag and like, oh, we think you stole something, whatever. Like, it's ridiculous. And I didn't even end up stealing anything. Like, not to be rude, like, I make more money than you. Like, I don't need to steal. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. Like, I'm not putting anybody down, but come on now. You know, when I was going through that depression and my kids were, my oldest, the other first three kids were with their biological father, and my baby was with her father, because I needed time to heal. It was very traumatic, everything that happened. And I knew that their fathers could take care of them until I got, you know, to the therapy that I needed to deal with the trauma. I remember the law that came to me. She's a mother. And she told me, I'm going to give you everything that you lost and back. And I'm going to give you my protection. You need to use this story to help other people. And you need to provide healing, because there's so much going on in our community that nobody talks about. It's why I became an advocate, an ally, a safe space, because I will always remember that experience, that fear, that unfortunately some of us, even in America, have to live with. The uncomfortableness when you're followed in a store but nobody else is. 6-year-olds getting arrested for having tantrums at school. And it didn't just start happening when a certain person got elected. This was 6 years ago. This has been happening. People have just become bolder in the things they said. But this has been happening. And I can't be a spiritualist and not talk about oppression. So when someone comes to me from a marginalized group, a woman, various different races, people with traumas, I can empathize with you, because I had to heal that experience with myself. I had to forgive the people that did that. Now, we did handle that in the spirit court, okay, because I work both sides of the path. 6 years ago is when I really got into these practices. When I really started to dedicate my life, because I was doing readings but no healing work. This is when things really took off for me, like in the sense of I'm doing spell works, I'm doing rituals, because it was an exchange. And when the spirit made that deal with me, I started reading people, even when I didn't have my kids with me and I was going through the healing process, because she wanted me to do that. When I got myself together and I started doing rituals and things like that, not only did she have all my kids living with me within a matter of months, I was off psych meds, and she healed my traumas and the emotional issues that I have, because I don't take anything to this day. And I'm pretty good. We did a lot of ancestral healing. That's why I offer those workshops, because I had to heal that trauma. And yes, I get emotional from it, because you get emotional from it, but I'm healed from it. I don't hate people. I don't hate men. I love, you know what I mean? I learned to heal the relationship with my daughter's father, you know, my ex and things like that. We're the best of friends. I'm the best of friends with my 2 ex-husbands, let me tell you. I can visit him where he lives and I'm good. I can stand up to people that make me feel a certain way. Making videos on YouTube has helped me to heal when I talk about things that maybe upset people, or I talk about things that nobody else is talking about this stuff. I love that you're holding space. I love that you're talking about the uncomfortable things. That experience and many other ones that I've been through, but especially that one, made me brave, because if I can go through all of that and come out the other side and become this powerful root worker, when the spirits were like, we're going to really unleash this power to you, so something like that never happens again. And if somebody's in that situation, you can not only empathize with them and use that pain, but pretty much prevent things from happening to people. I use that, and that's why I said I work both hands, and that's why I protect my cultural practices, because they're what got through. That's what got me through everything. And the magic is powerful. You know, that's why I offer my services and I charge for them, because there's some power to the secrecy. There's a lot of power in this conjure. Our ancestors used their magic for situations like this. And things of that nature. I did not end up pressing charges because I was told that it's very common. Even though I had a case, a lot of times they don't get prosecuted. This was going to become public. I didn't want to have my face in media. I was trying to heal from a trauma and things of that nature. So I pretty much handled that in a deal, let's just say, that I'm not allowed to share with you on YouTube right now. I signed in an agreement to, I can talk about what happened, but I can't talk about what was like, name the cops or like what specifically happened to them, if that makes sense. But there were consequences and things like that. Let's just say I took care of it in the physical world and the spiritual world, because again, I do work the left-handed path. I have no issues with that. I will hex and curse you if it's justified, and I think trying to kill me is justified, But yeah, so I wanted to share that with you because I feel like it's important. We have to be real. There are certain stereotypes that certain people that look a certain way, some people have. And we have to teach our children how to deal with the police. Even though they were unjustified in what they did to me, sometimes it's just better when it comes to police to put your head down, cooperate, and file a complaint later. Because even talking to them a certain way, or reaching for your wallet, or arguing with them can literally cost, even though I've seen other people do it, can literally cost you your life. Because unfortunately, there are people that really take stereotypes seriously. Certain people are more prone to steal and stereotypes are deadly and dangerous, but they exist. And so for my children, I teach them pretty much leave cops alone. I'm not saying all cops are bad, but just try not to get yourself in trouble. You don't have the privilege of being a normal teenager, because you acting up in a store could literally be your life. You mistakenly taking a doll from a store could literally have your parents at gunpoint in a parking lot, and you're being told to throw your baby on the floor. You playing with a toy gun could literally get you shot. That's just the world we live in. And so I kind of wanted to share that with you guys. And things like that. If you guys are interested in this, I actually do want to share with you guys. I don't share spells, but I feel like this one I do want to. If you guys ever want me to make a video next month on a ritual that I'm going to create specifically for anyone that wants to join in this healing session, it's gonna pretty much be a universal healing. If you are someone who's been a victim of police brutality, someone who's ever felt oppressed because of gender, sexual orientation, race, religion, I want to send healing energies, and I think I want to do a community healing session. And I feel like that would be a beautiful way to wrap up the 29 Days of Melanated Excellence. I will do that live stream, so I'm going to schedule that because I am doing my hoodoo classes, so I'll make sure it's like a day that I'm not teaching or having too many readings or something. But if you guys are interested in that, comment below, and I will definitely do that. I don't know whether I'm going to download this video on the same day or not, because I'm going to be out of town. I think I might do that, and then you guys can watch in your own leisure or something like that. But much love, much light, much blessings. Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't know if I'm going to download this one first and then download the other one second. We will see. Okay, but much love and light and blessings. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until the next video, guys, bye.